Video on the count function in T-SQL or Transact-SQL. So this is the second video which we've made in this series looking at the functions inside of Transact-SQL. So the count functions, as its name would suggest, is a function that returns the number of rows which matches a specified criterion. So we can use it to basically count the number of rows in a table, or count the number of rows in a table that match a specified criterion. And an important thing to note is that the count function does not include null values in the count value that it displays, but that will become more clear to you once we proceed with the demo. And just looking at the syntax here, we can see it select count, a specific column name, or you can use this asterisk, which will call all column names or multiple column names from the table name. And if needed, you can end the statement there, or you can use a where condition to filter the data. All right, so let's just set up the environment and jump into the demo. So I'm using Azure Data Studio because I'm on a Mac, and if you're on a Mac as well and you want to install this tool, I've got a video which I linked to in the top right corner of the screen. If you're on Windows, I have another video which links to SQL Server Management Studio and its installation guide. But the important thing is that both tools work exactly the same. The code is the same, the logic is the same, the syntax is the same. The UI is just different, but otherwise, whichever tool you're using, you can just follow the same instructions and both would work perfectly well. So you don't have to be worried about that. And apart from that, I linked to a GitHub repository in the description below with two files. One of them will be a demo file, count demo.sql, which will basically have the queries which I'm going to show you today, hard-coded, so you can just copy and paste them and run them. And in the other one, I've got a table setup.sql file in which I've hard-coded the sample data that I'm going to be using. So what you can do if you want to just follow along is just copy all of the contents, go back to whichever tool you're using, just paste it and run. And then once you run, you can just do a select star from sample data and you should see the same data as me. So let's run it and look at the sample data which I have prepared. We've got a table with an ID, a first name, last name, email, gender, IP address, age, country, credit card, and currency. And you can see there's about 100 rows of data. This is just to show you guys how this works. It's not any big data or fancy data that we're using here, just to cover the basics. All right, so let's start with a simple count function. So we want to count the number of rows in this table. So there's 100 rows, so whatever we do, the answer should come back as 100. So what we can do is, like we saw in the syntax, we can just put a select count and we put the asterisk inside the brackets that follow count. And once you run them, you see that we've got 100 here, because 100 is the number of rows. And instead of using the asterisk, you could use any column name that is in the table, and we put first name and you run it and you get the answer is 100. This is because there are no null values in any of the columns in this particular data set, because I didn't want to confusing you guys when you're just starting out. So yeah, you can see first name has no null values. So always so in that sense, the count would always equal to 100, because the only difference that would come from when we run the asterisk count and the first name count would be when there are null values in the first name. So if you want to just make sure that you're properly counting the total number of rows in any table, use the count and asterisks in brackets. And if you need it for a specific column, so that you don't include the null values in that column, then you specify the column name and then use it. So like in the previous video, we can also use aliasing here. We use the as keyword and specify the name that we want in single quotes after that and run. So you can see we've got the heading here, count, above the count value. All right, so again, apart from this, where the count becomes more useful is, suppose we wanted to know the number of people from Poland, or the number of rows of data where the country was Poland. So to do that, we can do the same select count star from sample data and then add a where clause. And then we specify where country is equal to Poland. We can specify the criterion that we want to meet. And just like, yeah, so there's 9 people who are from Poland in the table. So yeah, that's how we use the count function specifically in SQL. And here you can use another aliasing. You can use another alias. You can put it as Polish count or something and run. So you get Polish count as the heading. And also like we've used the where clause, you can use any of the operators and any of the criterions that we had mentioned in the where clause video and also in the and or not operator video. So you can check those 2 videos out if you're not familiar with those topics. But yeah, just to recount, the count function basically allows you to count the number of rows of data in the column that you specify, or if you use the asterisk, then it will count the whole table. So, and also you can filter the data with the where clause. So that's a brief breakdown of the count statement. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video so that we can continue making videos like these. Thank you.